Good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of the world you're in. Yeah, another session of our Agile testing and automation presentations. I'm just going to start with last week. In our previous session, we looked at the difference between traditional and Agile testing and introduction to Agile testing. Today, we are going to be looking at the roles and skills of a tester in an Agile project or on an Agile project. And then we'll also be introducing us to Agile testing methods and techniques. We won't do much there. I'll just mention it, in preparation for next week. Okay, so Agile testing roles, they include activities that generate and provide feedback, not only on test status and test progress and product quality, but we also want to, it also generates feedback for quality of testing or the Agile process itself. Okay, but what are these activities? What are these activities? First of all, understanding the Agile tester, one of their roles is understanding, implementing, and updating the test strategy. So depending on what the test strategy is, your test analyst, in a tester in an Agile, on an Agile project or testing in Agile projects should focus on understanding and implementing, updating the test strategy, be it BDD, TDD, exploratory testing, session-based, whatever it is. Testing has to make sure they understand and implement and update these test strategies. Also, another role is measuring and reporting test coverage. So on an Agile project, testing, one of the roles of testing or a tester is to measure and report test coverage. Remember, when we started, we talked about monitoring and control activities. Okay, so these come into play in testing in an Agile project. Thirdly, ensuring proper use of testing tools. So all kinds of tools are used in an Agile. We'll talk about automation later, but they're not just for automation. Logging bugs, the backlog repository, etc. These are what I'm referring to. Another role of testing is configuring, using, and managing test environments and data. I said when we were doing the traditional that these things are overlooked, but testing is very interested in this, and that is one of the roles of a tester: configuring, using, and managing test environments and test data. Okay, reporting defects. This sounds like a common one, but yeah, an Agile tester, one of their roles is reporting defects and working with the team to resolve them. So sometimes we have bug triages, etc., working with developers to make sure they understand what the bugs are. These are some of the roles. Again, coaching other team members in relevant aspects of testing. So yes, it's not just coaching only test members. The Agile tester or test analyst wants to be coaching other team members, including developers as well. I've worked on teams where I've had to explain to developers what to test, how to test, and sometimes they consult with you, and you want to make sure they're doing unit testing. You want to be involved, an Agile tester want to be involved in that. Make sure they're doing unit testing. Sometimes you can, as an Agile test analyst, because Agile is a cross-functional, especially Scrum, they're cross-functional teams. So you could be involved in writing some of these tests as well, components tests, which are automated, unit tests. They may ask you for your input. So you as a test analyst or the test analyst on the Agile team has to coach the team. Sometimes you have to make sure some of these tests by developers are being done. So the coaching and all that comes in there. Ensuring the appropriate testing tasks are scheduled. So this is mainly about scheduling, the timing of automation, timing of all kinds of testing tasks, components testing, integration testing. You want to make sure these are appropriately scheduled. Going back on the previous line, sometimes you may have third parties or other parties doing performance, security testing, and all kind of things. So you as a tester on an Agile team, you want to make sure that these are scheduled for the right time. I could tell you a story about that, but I think time won't allow us. But you can get into trouble as the test analyst on the team if these things are not done at the right time. You will be questioned. Actively, as a test analyst, you want to actively collaborate with developers and business stakeholders. It could include UAT teams, etc. And then also you want to participate. The tester has to participate proactively in team retrospectives. Of course, remember in terms of process quality, you want to feed back into that as well. Okay. So the next one I want to talk about is the skills of an Agile tester. Skills of an Agile tester. We know that Agile methodologies depend on collaboration. It's common knowledge in Agile. It depends on collaboration, communication, interaction between team members and stakeholders, even outside the team. But this means that the tester in an Agile team has to possess good interpersonal skills. But what else? What else do they need? They have to display critical, quality-oriented, and skeptical thinking. Okay, so if it looks like your test analyst is too skeptical, it is an expectation of an Agile tester. They have to display quality, critical, and underlying critical, quality-oriented, skeptical thinking. So if you're a BA or a product owner and your tester is acting funny, it is expected. We have to display those skeptical thinking. The next one is accurately evaluate and report test results. As I mentioned earlier, test results, test progress, and product quality. So we have to accurately evaluate and report these things. As an Agile tester, remember that Agile takes a whole team approach to testing. So you work effectively to define the testable. I was going to say something else. You have to work effectively to define testable user stories. Work with the BA and the rest of the team. Work effectively to define acceptable, to define acceptance criteria as well. So BAs, you want to engage your testers. It's always a good thing to engage testers. Be positive as a tester. Testers have to be positive and solution oriented. So we're not just interested, or the tester won't only be interested in a spec, but in Agile, a tester is interested in the whole solution, okay, end to end. And of course, be positive about it. And an Agile tester has to actively acquire information from stakeholders. So that means that an Agile tester won't only look at the spec, but they will be thinking and getting information, trying to engage with the business and all kinds of stakeholders. If you find your test analyst in Agile going outside and saying that I'll need more time for other things, like, engaging with stakeholders, it is expected and it's normal. And an Agile tester has to collaborate with the team, working in pairs with programmers. I think I've mentioned this a few times, that we have to work with alongside developers. I've been in tasking meetings, when they're breaking the tasks, when developers are breaking tasks, sometimes I get involved in there as well, because it gives, you find that sometimes you can give them feedback, and then the test analysts can get a lot of information about how the developers are going to break the application down, the different small bits. So it gives them more coverage. It gives them, it helps them, and it helps the developer test analyst as well to feed into what they're doing, and then get more stuff from there as well to write their test cases. I've seen people ask questions, or I've heard people ask questions, why do you have to join the developers in an Agile team? Remember, it's a cross-functional team, and we bounce off each other. So it is normal, and expect your test analyst to be there as well, working closely with programmers. And sometimes even writing tests as well. It is normal. One of the skills, again, of an Agile tester is to respond quickly to change. So sometimes there are changes within the sprint. This is one that I wish I could leave out, but I have to mention that there can be changes in the sprint. Once it's properly negotiated with the team may decide to take some user stories out, or do some additional work. As a test analyst, you want to respond quickly in this case, and maybe add some new test cases, take some of them out. This may affect your time, but once it's properly reported, it's okay. So you have to be adaptable. You have to be ready and flexible in that respect, because it's different from traditional testing projects. And last one, skill, is that the Agile tester has to plan and organize their own time. You have to be good at planning and organizing your own time, because there'll be retrospectives, there'll be all sorts going on. You're engaging with stakeholders, engaging with programmers at all times, getting feedback from left, right, center. You should be able to plan and organize your own time. Okay. So now we're going to look at some of I'm just going to introduce us to Agile testing methods and techniques. So there are some basic or common testing practices adopted on Agile projects. Okay, some of them are writing tests in advance. Of course, you want to do that in advance if you get the chance. You also want to focus on early defect prevention. Example, investing in good developers. That is if you have to make sure that, by defect prevention, the team, you may suggest that we invest in developers. Maybe your developers do not have unit testing skills. They don't know how to do all these things. Testing as a function, you want to make sure that these things are done for the sake of testing. Again, in terms of testing, we want to do early defects. We're not talking about the tester here, we're talking about testing. We want to ensure that defects are detected very early in advance. And that, in both cases, prevention and detection I want to say that these can be done in advance. Detection can only be done when the code is ready. Okay, but we want to do this as early as possible. Either, again, suggesting that stuff are automated, or unit tests, all these things are covered by developers. We want to do this as early as possible. Early defects removal. Early defect removal. Of course, we're talking about fixing these bugs as early as possible. I showed a slide last week in which we saw in traditional testing, we saw that sometimes the team may decide to leave bugs for later. But then in Agile testing, in Agile teams, we want to make sure that any bug, clean code, yeah, we want to make sure that if there's any bug, we clear them and not save them for later. Write tests, yeah, we want to make sure, again, that in an Agile team, tests are run at the right time. Okay, tests have to be run at the right time. And then tests have to be run as part of the right test level. So they have to be written, if it's unit testing, we want tests to be run at that time, not later on when you're doing acceptance tests. Okay, so we want to make sure that tests are run as part of the right test level. Test level simply talks about unit test, acceptance tests, system test, system integration, etc. Right. Remember last week, we saw this. If anyone remembers, this was one of the last slides that we looked at last week. This was about, I said that traditional testing moves from, traditional test usually does implementation of the software first and then testing later. But then in Agile, we've switched from testing first to implementing, writing the test first and then implementing the code, if you remember this, right? These sort of things are done with using some specific test strategies or frameworks, which we will be looking at next week, but I thought I'll mention them this week. So the three complementary testing techniques that we will be looking at next week are test-driven development, behavior-driven development, and acceptance test-driven development. They are complementary Agile testing techniques that we need to be aware of. So this brings me to the end of today's session. I will allow, as I mentioned, we'll be looking at, what's this? Okay. Oh, pardon these. You don't need this. Okay. Yeah. So this brings me to the end. I'll allow questions to come through now. Thanks.
So, Eric.
Yes, sir.
Today we focused on the skills developed by the Agile tester.
Yes.
So the skills developed by the Agile tester, is this something required for any other person within the Agile transformation? Let's say the product owner, should they also have some of the skills you talked about?
So if I just go back, where are we? So we've got the skills here. So because Agile the Agile teams take a testing approach, as in whole team approach to testing. Yes, because if you look at working effectively to define testable user stories, I mean, user stories are defined usually by excuse me, by the product owner, if I'm right. So at that point, you want to allow the tester in your space as a product owner to do what they do. You want to engage them very early. Refinement sessions, you want to bring them in. And then you can see the BA as well. You can see the tester working with the BA as well when it comes to acceptance criteria defining. So you don't want to make that the tester's responsibility, but you want to engage the tester in these activities. And the reason this is important, it's important that we bring this here, is because I've worked with teams where they exclude the test analyst in these activities, and they don't allow the test analyst to get information, acquire information from stakeholders, because they still think traditionally that the tester is a tester. But if it's agile, you want to involve the tester very early. Again, programmers as well, or developers, not many think that testers should be involved. If we're talking about agile, then you want a whole team approach to testing, and you will get a lot from the test analyst if you engage them.
So my last question is, we're talking about the agile tester, but in an agile environment, we're developing T-shaped skills.
Yes.
So could we say the developer could develop certain T-shaped skills, such as being able to write requirements with the analyst, or being able to help with writing some elements of the code?
Yeah.
So is that T-shaped skills required for an agile tester?
Absolutely. I mean, it's written all over, I think the previous, when we talked about the agile testing versus traditional, I think all that came in there. I'll say this again, that testing is a team, agile takes a team approach to testing. So whatever level you are, be you a programmer, BA, you want to work together towards testing. So I had to use tester as a here to make it for the purpose of this presentation. But yes.
I think, what about the Scrum Master? Do they require testing skills? Because some Scrum Masters will say, I'm a servant leader, I don't need to know much about testing.
Well, you need to know, because you're facilitating the whole, the team. You need to understand why people are doing what they do, why the test analyst is is having to engage. If, let's just say, test analyst says it's going to take me 4 days to do work because I need to engage with programmers or pair with, you need to understand why they do that and understand the benefits in it.
I don't know if Frank has got his hands raised, but there's a question here that says, would it be best to have the tester involved with the sprint review so that he or she can get first-hand feedback from the users?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. I mean, again, remember, it is a team effort. So the tester at every stage should be engaged and involved in it. At every stage, you're going to get reviews. You want the tester to be part of, backlog planning, iteration planning, all that. You want to engage them. You want feedback early feedback. So you want to engage testers.
Okay. So, has anyone got any questions?
I'm reading the chat now. In a typical agile project environment, who develops and writes the initial test plan? The initial test, I'll say the tester still does their work. But again, a developer who's not doing anything may decide that, you know what, I'm gonna do this. Because if you decide that we're a cross-functional team, I could tell you this. I've worked on teams when I didn't have, well, because they knew I could do some coding, I was tasked with some what you could call a developer's task, because it's a cross-functional team. Okay, so yes, anyone can do it, but ideally, you're the one who's got the skills and knows how to do it better. So you will have to do it. Okay, write the test one. Did I answer the question? And there's another question. Thanks for
Yeah.
that. Okay, thanks.
So someone has asked, what are T-shaped skills?
William, I'll let you answer that. Explain that better.
All right. So if we look into an agile environment, as we progress along, roles have to take on multiple tasks. And for agile environment, we've said that as a team member, you can be I-shaped, where you are more skilled in one area, or over time, you could develop a T-shaped skill. And what's now becoming a social buzz in the agile community is the E-shaped skill. Yeah. The I-shaped person, we would say, is a developer, and they focus on front-end development. They don't do any other bits of development. But when you've developed a T-shaped skill, let's say you could be a full-stack developer and also supporting testing, you've become T-shaped. And then if you've become E-shaped, then boy, oh boy, yeah, you've got many skills to share with the team and to support the team. So you're a developer, you can help with testing, you can help with requirements, and you can also support with product management activities.
Yeah, so
thank you, Eric.
The example that I gave, the last example that I gave, that are on some of the teams that I've worked on, I have had to do like some coding, because they knew that I could do that part of that small task. So just to save developers time, I took up those risks, and it was an opportunity for me to learn as well, and improve my coding skills. So I wasn't a developer, but then I picked up that response. And then there are teams that I've worked on as well, where I've had to kind of closely work, not as the Scrum Master, but work with the Scrum Master, because the team was learning Agile Scrum. So I had to lend that responsibility and that skill, that experience to the team. So yes, is that where we talk about E-shaped skills?
Yeah, E-shaped.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for adding that to it, William.
All right.
Yeah, so I didn't want to go into the technology, the techniques and methods, because that is big, and it would be easier to leave that out for a whole session next week. So we will be looking at that properly, TDD, DDD, and then ATDD next week. See if anyone's got any other question. Any more?
Hello, Eric. Hello.
Hey, Samuel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Testing, now following you has made me, I just want to say big thank you. Big very, very thank you for the sessions, because following you has really enlightened me regarding testing. I had the opinion that it was just eliminating of bugs and making sure that all the requirements has been has been matched against the acceptance criteria. But following you has really enlightened me, and even today's one, the skills that that an agile fellow needs to do texting in an agile environment. I mean, it's a whole lot. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Sam. Thanks.
Eric, is it okay if I wrap up and
yes,
talk?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for making it to today's session, and thank you also, Eric, for giving us such a fantastic tour on testing. I know there's still more. There's test-driven development, there's behavior-driven development, and we might end up looking at one of the testing tools, Selenium.
Yes.
I don't know when.
Yeah, we will at some point, yes.
Yeah, because there's so much to cover under the scope of testing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say thank you so much. Tomorrow we've got the Scaled Agile framework, and I will be taking a look at certain key important elements of the framework you should know about. So tomorrow, I'm not with a client, so I am back covering the Scaled Agile framework. And then on Thursday, we've got coaching. How best can you improve your leadership and transformational skills if you are part of, if you understand or you can help with certain coaching activities on the transformation program. So we look forward to seeing you, and always send us your feedback. We'll work on your feedback. Have a wonderful day, and thank you, Eric. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Eric, for